Hi, Liz here from Cooked Your Feed. At Green Earth Organics we have loads and loads of beautiful leeks coming out of the fields at the moment, so I thought I'd show you a really easy but really elegant dish you can make with them, and that's a leek tarte tatin. Okay, so traditional tarte tatin is made with apples. It's a classic French dish. This is my really easy one pot savoury version. Okay, so we start off by cleaning the leeks. The easiest way to do this is carefully slice them all the way down the middle, leave them intact at the end, and then run them under the tap just to rinse out any muddy bits. Okay, so in an oven and hob safe pan, I've got a little bit of melted butter. Obviously I use a plant-based one, and I'm just going to add some delicious olive oil. So about a tablespoon of each is fine, and then I'm going to add just half a handful of some brown sugar. So we want this kind of caramelising at the bottom there, and a few fresh thyme leaves. Spread those out a little bit, make sure they're evenly spaced. And then what I'm going to do is try and carefully place the leek slices, so to measure it against there. So I want nice long slices of leek. That fit perfectly in the base of the pan. Try and keep them intact. Okay, so we want the whole of the pan like this, covered in leeks. We'll just let that saute for a little bit on the hob. If you don't have an oven and hob safe pan, you could do this bit in the oven, just in a baking dish. So just pop the butter and oil in, pop it in the oven and let it melt. Then take it out of the oven, add the sprinkle of sugar and the thyme leaves and the leeks, and pop it back in the oven for a little bit to par cook the leeks before you put the pastry on. Okay, so I'm going to let those just cook for a little bit, and then you can add a little splash of apple cider vinegar. Leeks and vinegar are a classic combination, they really go well together. So just maybe 2 or 3 tablespoons. And I'm going to season the leeks really well with some salt and pepper as well. That smells so good already. And I'm going to put a few more thyme leaves on the bottom of the leeks as well. So once that's started to cook down, we need to get the pastry ready. So no shop bought puff pastry is actually incidentally vegan, so it hasn't got any dairy in. So if that's an issue for you, just double check before you buy it, or of course you can make your own puff pastry if you're feeling ambitious. Okay, so I've got this sheet of ready rolled puff pastry, and this is where it would actually be kind of easier in a way to do it in a rectangular baking dish. Okay, so here's what the leeks look like so far. You can see there's some nice caramelisy juices forming at the bottom, which is perfect, that's just what we want. And then we're going to cover and work quickly so the pastry doesn't get too hot. I'm going to trim off the excess and then use this trimming bit to fill in any gaps. So just make little extra bits here and there. So this is actually going to be the base of the tart. We're going to turn it upside down once it's cooked in the oven. So it doesn't matter if it's not very neat on the bottom there. Just use up that whole sheet of puff pastry. And then just gently tuck in the sides a little bit. And keep all those juices in, like so. And then we're just going to pop it in the oven and bake it until the pastry's cooked through. And I'll show you what happens next. Okay, so the Leek Tatin has finished cooking in the oven. The pastry is nice and risen and golden. I'm just going to let it sit in here for a few minutes before I tip it out. Okay, now for the scary bit. And the trick to this is confidence. Just go for it. So you want to put your platter, or a wooden chopping board or something would be ideal as well, on top of the pan. Then using oven gloves because the pan is still hot. You want to really quickly, swiftly pop it upside down. So in reality, the right way up. And then hopefully it will be, ta-da, perfection. And it doesn't matter if some little bits of leek have stuck to the pan. You can just scoop them out and place them carefully back on the tart. Nobody will ever know. But here we go. Here's what it looks like when it's done. Isn't it beautiful? So simple as well. I love these kind of easy but elegant one-pot dishes, and that hardly took any time at all. And it makes a really classy looking starter. You can slice it up into beautiful wedges and serve it with some really nice peppery salad leaves. I'm just going to decorate it with some extra fresh thyme leaves. There's something about leeks and thyme that just is sublime. It goes so well together. And the fragrance of them being freshly pulled off the stalks is just incredible with the vinegary leeks. And there we go. So simple, but so delicious. I hope you give it a try. Let me know how it goes.